Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the first post-Easter Rethink podcast.
Yep.
Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hopefully, maybe you used last week to really reach out and say, hey, there's nothing else to do this weekend, so why don't you lean into to Flatirons or some church online, and I look forward to hearing some of the conversations like the one you had. Talk about going to the liquor store.
Yeah, so last night I was going to the liquor store. We have the Kenyan neighbor that I mentioned on the last podcast. He was sitting in his car. I knocked on his window, and I was like, hey, you want anything from the liquor store? And he's like, no. Can I tell you something? And then he told me some stuff about him and his wife that they're expecting a baby and like super pumped about it. And you could tell he's like processing it in the moment. And so we started talking, and I was like, I'll talk to you all night long. I got time to kill.
Wait, is he in his own car in your neighborhood, or is it the liquor store?
No,
he's in a parking lot staring because he's having a baby.
He's in our neighborhood.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was like, I'll go to the liquor store if you need anything. And he starts talking about all this, and he's like, we had this whole plan, like we wanted to buy a house, which we're doing, and then I wanted a dog, and then we would have the baby, and now it's all messed up. I was like, dude, you're fine. Like, we found out we were pregnant, and then I got a dog. It was fine.
Claire,
I bought a pit bull.
You bought a pit bull while your wife was pregnant with your first child.
And he's like, oh, your wife was okay with that? I was like, no, but here we are. And Stella's great. But through that conversation, we were able to talk
Stella's the pit bull.
Stella's the pit bull, not our kid. Yeah, or my wife. But we were able to talk about how he goes to this Kenyan church down in Parker or Lone Tree, wherever.
Yep.
It's all mangled up there. But they don't have the technology to stream stuff out, so they're looking for a church. And so I got him my business card, got him invited for this weekend, and hoping that they can jump in and check it out. I wanted to talk about what gets brought up in the Easter message. This idea that a lot of people, and thinking through some of the stuff that I'm walking through with people at the campus that I'm at, wanting Jesus to be this instant, like, I prayed and Jesus all of a sudden fixed everything in the world and fixed everything in my life and in my problems and everything going on like that.
Yep.
That's an idea that runs rampant. Like people either think like, oh, Jesus is good because I prayed and all of a sudden this happened, or Jesus is not good because I prayed and 30 years later I'm still dealing with depression or whatever.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that up and see with your thoughts, with you to flesh that out. Like within that thought process, there's a lot of people that watched that this past weekend and was like, oh, I resonate with that. Like I've always held on to Jesus like that. I'm thinking about like stuff in my life where it's like I prayed over and over and over again for my dad to get healed, and it actually sped, like he didn't heal and his sickness sped up, and it was just this awful thing. And I could have turned a couple different ways. It could have been like, oh, Jesus is terrible, wasn't there for any of this, or it's like, oh, I'm completely numb, I don't feel anything anyway. Like I don't think Jesus was a part of this. But like for what you and Robin have walked through, that idea that Jesus doesn't fix things instantly, how has that played out? Now you're 30 plus years into that.
Yeah.
Where does thoughts like that creep up, and where do you have to go? No, that's not how I hold on to Jesus.
Right. Well, my favorite thing that Robin said during the Easter talk, because if you didn't see it, Robin and I teach a little part of it together, is that she actually says she gets really, really frustrated with Jesus. She wants to reach over and shake him and punch him in the arm. I'm like, you just said on Easter you want to shake Jesus.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh. That's honest though.
Yeah.
All right. And I think that there's sometimes people just go, I'm really angry at God right now because of my dad or because of this illness. And if he would just do this, it makes sense in my mind, things would get better. I think over time, bad religion has made promises in the name of Jesus to manipulate people. All right. If you'll do this, or you'll do this more, if you'll give more, if you'll do more for this thing that I want you to give more to, or something like that, then Jesus will come through. And then if it happens, they say, see, it worked. And if it doesn't happen,
Give more.
They just say, yeah, well, you're not doing it right. Or the conclusion is there's something wrong with me or there's something wrong with God. And then you get really disillusioned because your dad went ahead and died.
Yeah.
Either God is bad or you did something wrong.
Right.
All right. And that's not in the Bible. Yeah. So, what Robin holds on to, and some days it is just, one of the things she said that was really, really good, was there's a tension between what I know and believe is true and then what I feel in daily life. And it's like anything you have to get through, you have to play a long game.
Yeah.
So if you and Taylor love each other, there's some days that you just want to
quarantine has ramped that up.
B.
Yeah,
I choose B.
I choose B. It's a meme gif.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. But it's like you have to play the long game because there's for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, and it's the same thing with God.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I promised that I'd be in this from till death do us part. And if any point along the line you would have said, I just want to pick that season and define my relationship with God, it's not going to last.
Yep.
good or bad. Because if you always think it's going to be good, it's not. If you think it's always going to be bad, it's not. And so I think that the key word that she says, I hang on to hope. I hang on to hope, and some days are good and some days are bad. And when they're bad and when I'm weak, he is my strength. And that is not a very satisfying answer sometimes, but it's real.
Yeah.
And in all the most important relationships in your life, you look back going, you talk to somebody who's been married for 50 years, and say, how'd you get here? And they're like, day at a time, but we played a long game. And it's the same thing with God. It's the same way with going through cancer and coronavirus and marriage and raising kids. There's some days you want to tap out and you go, if this is what it's going to be like every day like this, I can't do it. But you're playing 18 years, 22 years with your kids. You're playing, a whole lifetime with your parents, with your whatever. And it's the same way with God is if the world is always going to be like Corona, we're all going to tap out now, right?
Yeah.
But we have this hope that one day it's going to lift. It may be different, it may change, but we're hanging on to this hope. And that's what Robin's doing. There are no quick fixes. There's nothing that any government could do to make this Corona thing go. And we can look backwards and go, but if they would have done this, okay, absolutely. And if I would have done this, my marriage would have been different. And if I would have done this, my health would have been different. But I didn't. And now here I am.
This is what I have to work with.
Right. And so I think it's the same thing with the person that was listening this past weekend, hearing Robin say, I've begged God over and over and over. And his answer has been no, but I'll sit in the boat with you. Sometimes if you look at it going, so if those are the two answers, no, I'm not going to heal you, but I'll sit in the boat with you, or no, I'm not going to heal you, and you're all alone in the boat.
What are you going to take?
Either way, you're still in a boat, right? Like you're dealing with a family right now that's doing life and death situation decisions with their infant son. Okay, they have to do that no matter what. They do that with God or without God. Okay, and with God doesn't mean that everything's going to turn out right, and without God doesn't mean that everything's going to turn out bad. You're going to have to go through that. You're going to go through it by yourself, or you're going to go through it with God. And God says, if you let me in the boat with you and go through it with you, you won't be alone, you won't be crushed, you won't be forsaken, and you can have the hope that on the other end of this, there is resurrection. And that's what has kept Robin alive. You know?
That's so good. So with that thought of she knows, here's what she knows, like she's holding on to what she knows, and then her feelings for the day, or the year, or the 30 years. For you, it's really easy for, I think just us in general, men in general, like me personally, where it's like I can let my feelings really control things and run things, and sometimes it's just easier, like let them loose and tear through things.
Sure.
When you're in the situation where it's like, okay, here's what I know, but here's what I'm feeling, and we let this like run rampant. How for you have you taken like a breath and moved back to here's what I know and here's what I'm holding on to harder?
Yeah, same thing. So Robin's thing is depression and migraine headaches. Mine is I have a wife with migraines and depression. That's my storm. All right. That's and all the things that does to our marriage and our relationship that I look over at, you and Taylor from outside, you're a young couple, you have everything going, no problems, no challenges.
Yeah, we have none.
Right.
No doubt.
I'm just saying it's perception,
sure,
right? And I'm looking over going, but you don't have this and you don't have this. And then I start going, my storm's not fair. My storm's not this.
And then this side ramps up.
Oh yeah. And I feel bad and I feel bad and I feel bad. And here's the other thing is I'm on God's team. It just is absolutely ridiculous to me that God doesn't heal Robin so we can get on to do better things for him. All right. The reason it's really interesting is that whole verse Robin says, when I'm weak, he is my strength. If you back up a few verses, it says that to keep Paul from becoming arrogant, the guy who wrote that, he had a problem that wouldn't go away, a thorn in his flesh. I'm very capable of that. And so Robin's thing is her health problems, and mine is, well, one of mine is, I've got several things, but in relation to this, mine is, how do I stay in a marriage that's really, really hard, that looks harder than somebody else's marriage? And then I start feeling sorry for myself, and well, God's in my boat with me too. And so, if Robin could choose, she would take all that away so she could be a better wife, because she feels a lot of guilt and shame about that. Self-imposed, all right? And the same thing with me. If God fixed all this stuff, we could do some more stuff. The answer is no. All right? And I don't like that answer. All right. I wouldn't say I want to shake Jesus.
Right. She would, but
Robin, there have been yelling matches. I've heard Robin yell at God, and I think it's the most honest prayer. There's no judgment there at all. I've yelled. I've pounded my steering wheel and told God he should be a better God and all that. And you know what happens? Nothing. He just sits there with me and lets me just vent and like, you done? Yeah. Yes, sir, I am.
I
All right,
had that family that you just talked about that goes to Aurora. I was talking with them at the hospital a couple days ago, and they were like, "Yeah, we feel bad because like one moment we're really angry with God, and the next moment we're just begging Him to jump in and help."
Yeah.
And I was like, "If God is as big as we think He is, that we know that He is, He can handle you being livid, and then wanting Him the next second."
Oh yeah. God's a big boy, and I know that He's not a boy. Whatever, right? God has got big shoulders, and He's got really, really, really thick skin, and He has really, really open arms. And I think He's like, bring me your pain. Yell. Oh my gosh. So I got to tell this. Last night at 8:00.
Yeah. With everybody howling.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And I went outside, I was laughing, and then I started howling.
Yeah.
You know?
Was it great?
It was so great.
Yeah.
It's so great. Here's what I mean is, I think God looks at us sometimes going, just yell. You know? I remember when I was in Louisville, I was talking to one of my leaders there, and I said, I just want to just cuss sometimes. He goes, just words.
Yeah.
Just words. I think God looks at us sometimes, and He just goes, just say it, get it out.
Yeah.
Now, you done? I'm not offended. I'm not mad at you.
Mm-mm.
You know, there's a day when Booker's going to look at you and go, I hate you. You're not my dad.
Yeah.
And you're just looking at him going, you little punk, I am too.
Yeah.
Are you done? All right.
Yeah.
I think it's the same way with God. I think, I got to watch the time. Let me say this. For anybody that's listening to me right now, one is, the first part of what we talked about is, don't be a selfish person, and don't use anybody else as an excuse to be a selfish person. If you can help somebody in this COVID-19 thing, then put your money where your mouth is, and either help your family, help your neighbor, or give it to a church. And I would really challenge other churches out there to pick this up and run with it. But don't be a selfish person. That's the first group I would talk to. The second group of people would be this, especially those that maybe leaned into Easter for the first time.
Yeah.
And it would be this. There are no magic fixes, even with Jesus. There is no short game. There is no instant cure. There is no Jesus bubble that He puts around you, makes everything good. What He says is, I'll never leave you and forsake you. I'll go through it with you. You'll never be alone. You won't be crushed. You won't be overcome. Doesn't mean you're not going to feel like it, but what you feel and what is actually true are going to be very, very,
Very
two different things. And He promises that you'll never be alone again. And that has kept Robin alive, literally, right? And it's kept us married, and it's kept our family in a healing process from all the crap that's happened because of my dysfunction, her dysfunction, our dysfunction together, and just a crazy world. Don't give up. There's hope. He's here, and there's people in the world right now waiting for us to actually be Him.
Yeah, to be that hope.
And we can all do it.
Yeah.
All right?
Awesome.